Woo-wee! What do we have here? The MR64 from Sky High Car Audio at 120 bucks a pair and 300 watts RMS. How does this speaker stack up to everything else? She's a biggin'. In order to limit the low-end distortion of this speaker, I set a high-pass crossover of 130 Hz. The speaker plays pretty well up to about 2400 Hz, but has a natural roll-off starting about 1400 Hz and goes down. There's a couple high-end peaks here, so please keep that in mind when you want to add a tweeter, that there may be extra energy up at the higher frequencies. The response for this speaker is actually really good for a speaker that can handle 300 watts. It's fairly flat with a couple dips and a little peak there, but overall I think that's very acceptable for a speaker this size. It takes 16 watts of power to get this thing up to 110 decibels. This is a fairly sensitive speaker. Distortion stays well under 5%, which is impressive for a speaker that can handle 300 watts. Bringing the power up to 100 watts, this speaker barely creeps over 10% distortion at the lower end, with everything else staying still under 5%. Again, very impressive for a speaker this powerful. If we were to take the crossover and bump it up to 130 Hz, the distortion would stay well under 10% throughout the full frequency range. Giving it 150 watts at the same 130 Hz crossover point, distortion barely creeps up over 10% at the lower frequencies. So, can this speaker handle 300 watts? I think it can handle 300 watts of power. You may have to bump the crossover point a little bit in order to keep it from destroying itself, but I mean, looking at how well composed it is at 150 watts, I say giving it 300 would not be a problem. But don't take my word for it. So overall, the MR64 from Sky High Car Audio is a pretty impressive speaker. It'll play loud, it'll play not too low, but for a mid-range speaker that'll get down to about 130 Hz crossover point, I think it's a very, very good option for anyone looking for a fairly inexpensive speaker that can play really loud. Peace.